Another day where it doesn't want to pop up. I closed the thing and opened it again, but it's being a butt. Anyway, back from Atlanta. We're went out there for an event, and then was there for a week. Now I'm back. Worked on some stuff while I was there, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to work. Couldn't really stream. But yeah, I decided to pop on today to work a little bit on Dean. I want to get him finished so that I can work on Jazra and then do some stuff on the book cover. I did have a scene that I set up, but I don't like the way it looks. I don't know if I showed you guys, but I'll probably show you later. But for this particular session, I'm working on Dean's claws here. So I've done some stuff to tighten up the fingers just a bit. This is not near final. You can see that the density of the polygons right now are kind of stretched. I have to rerun the Dynamesh. But the rough shape, I think, is about what I want it to be. Yeah. But I got the hands done, so now it's time to do the feet. I may make these fingers a bit longer. I was looking at let's see, like the iguana hand here. And some of these, like, the ring fingers are long, you know, on the lizard. I might do that. I don't know. Like, you look for inspiration where you can find it, really. But, anyway. I'm pretty sure I saved that position, but I'll go ahead and do it again at 9, and then I'll make some changes. I did have to redo some stuff on him, just because if you recall from the last session, we got to about here where I bulked him up, but I had somehow accidentally damaged his hand, and I couldn't easily fix it, so I had to go back a few iterations and then work from there. So I went through and I redid the bulking up. I laid down the bone and the muscle where I want it to be. I've got to do some work on the arms, but I think I got the back pretty good. The hips, I got those pretty good. The tail I'm not happy with yet, but the thigh and the calves I think are alright. There's a little bit of a crease here that I'm not happy with, but I got this shape. But I want to get these, the toes. So, now just isolate that. And we'll continue on. Ugh. Sometimes it's a jerk. Oh, I probably should get the, if anybody decides they want to talk, I won't be able to see them. Come on. There we go. Gotta get this. I got that. Volume. Yes. Hey, AP, welcome. Want to make sure that I greet folks. How you been? All right. I think I'll tackle this little pinky digit. We'll get the clay buildup brush. So I guess if it's this way, I might have the claw come out here. So all I'm doing right now is just building like a base for where the claw kind of extends from. So in some dragon claws I looked at, they kind of come up and out off of the digit. I don't know if you can see my finger. The iguana nails seem to come off directly off of the end of the digit. Kind of like sort of in between, where it's raised up a bit coming out. So that's sort of like the method I'm going with. Okay, I'll get my move topological. Let's try that again. So I'm just trying to like build that volume without too much distortion. But I think that's probably good. And since I have symmetry on, I get both sides. Yeah. Gonna do kind of the same thing. I'm gonna do just quickly build the placement of each one. Let's see, just double check the bottom. Yeah, I think we're good. Get my clay build up, and again, I will just build those sections where I think it should come out of. Anybody see the new How to Train Your Dragon? I saw that last night. I give it an 88%. Really, whenever you're looking at a remake, like, it's all been done before, but sometimes they really do a bad job at, like, the Snow White was pretty awful. I didn't see it, but I had no intention of seeing the movie. But How to Train Your Dragon is alright. I was disappointed about Astrid's casting, but she did a pretty good job as Astrid, not gonna lie. I guess that's true. Outside of my private trades, I really don't do a whole lot with crypto. For the movie, they did a pretty good faithful adaptation to live action. Casting's pretty good. Gerard Butler reprised his role as Stoic. You know, he voiced it in the animated version, so they actually cast him to play it in the live action. Of course, he did 300, so he was already big and kind of Viking-like anyway. Not a whole stretch to his physique, I guess. How do I want to do under the toes? Let's see. Get a knuckle. As I'm looking at the foot, just kind of assessing which toes need to be bigger. Now, if you have like a dew claw, this is technically your big toe, but I'll still do big toe, middle toe, I think. Oh yeah, they're pretty good. If you like animated movies, Disney movies, Pixar movies. Let me come back to this one. I want to hide the other foot because it's in my way a little bit, but I want to make sure that symmetry is still happening, so I'm just going to pull this in just a touch. Oops. Might have to adjust that. Hold on. Let me get my standard brush. I'm gonna roughly carve in where those need to be. I don't think it should be that chunky though. I don't know, kind of like the way it was before. Always a way to compare past events to current crypto. I guess that's fair. For big toe, I think I was fine. For other toes, I don't know. I don't know that if I like that shape. I think the other way was better. Can I go back far enough to redo my undo? My original idea, I think, was better. There is a bit of a twist in the nail, isn't there? Just a bit of a twist. So this toe should be thinner, this one should be fatter. Let me thin out this guy over here. One of the nice things about the Move topological brush is it tries to figure out the related geometry as you're pulling. ZBrush is pretty good at figuring it out relative to your camera angle. You gotta go around the model and really just check. This is actually about the rough shape of a pinky toe. They're kind of stubby. Don't think I need to change a whole lot on this one. Toes tend to be a bit flat on the bottom just because of all the weight and the compression, so I might just level these off just a little. Alright, then I get my standard brush. And like before, I'll go in and do the little wrinkles. Let's take that down to like a about a 12, let's do like a 6. So I want to take a second to talk about topology. So you know, if you do a lot of 3D modeling, but topology is kind of a big deal. If you look, get a good angle, I guess. If you think about how each one of these squares lines up, if I go to carve into that group of squares, the way that those squares line up matters, right? So if I go from here to there, I should get a pretty good push in, because these are all kind of going in the same direction, right? But when you get into an area like this, where you can see here they line up, but then along here I'm getting sort of a crosshatch. So instead of being like this, you know, I get an angle like that. So as I'm going to be pushing on here, I'm going to get much messier result. You see how that doesn't quite go in as smoothly? I get this pinch, right? So topology does matter. The deformation, or the change in the shape, is going to depend on that topology. And you'll see that more here, where we get a lot of crisscrossing, just because it's trying to keep this straight this way, but the edge flow doesn't really help for this. So the downside of sculpting is you don't have as much control over the edge flow. The upside is you can re-topologize, and ZBrush will kind of figure it out later. Like this, see how these don't go in a nice way, so as I bend this in, this is going to get worse. Okay. Alright. I want to get some of the volume in this built up. There should be a little more like a knuckle here. Let me turn the eyes off. And just to make my selection a little bit easier to deal with, go this way. I'm going to start working in the tendons. So I like to use the standard brush for this, just because tendons tend to be a bit round. You can use clay buildup if you want to, but I don't want to have a huge change, just a little bit. So if I'm going, say like up the back of the toe, and then I pull toward the ankle. What's my size here? 21. Maybe we'll do 18. Just because this is a smaller pinky. Because you don't have to have a huge change, you just want the impression of there being something under the skin. And then for the ball, this is technically the ball of the foot. You know, this is the ankle, this is the underside of the foot, this is the ball of the foot, technically. I think I will push some of this back up. Sort of move the pad down some. We're not going to see his feet all that often, but do want it to be convincing. So I need the crease here. We can do a crease kind of like a hand. So I'll go back to my standard. What do I got there? 15, let's do 6. What we got? Yes, I'm using my own foot as a reference because it's there. I might as well. Oops, a little too much. Yeah, I got those. Yeah, might as well have them, right? Okay. It looks like I messed up right here. And then in here, right about here, kind of leading into there is kind of like a big tendon. I wonder if I should do thinner. Let's do 20. No, I won't do that. Don't like the way that looks. Okay. But I think I'm good on this part. Let's bring back the rest of the model. Oops. There we go. Yeah, because I've got the Achilles, ankle, and that. I'm going to do a save. I want to do something about these on the tail here. I think what I'll do is smooth this off and then clay build up to get the ridges. Oops. Layer, I want layer. I was looking for don't be a jerk. That's why I went for the lasso, but didn't seem like I was getting a good selection region. There we go. Just so I don't accidentally hit other parts of the model. Brush, we'll get the clay buildup. Do these. Whoops. Wrong thing. That was weird. It like screwed up my selection. And then it wouldn't be kind and go back and give me my selection. Keep hitting the wrong button. I like sculpting for how quick you can kind of block out a character. I don't like sculpting for the fact that it kind of is more work since you have to go back and re-topologize everything. Sometimes it's just better to build good topology as you're going. Sometimes it's just easier to rough out the shape. Might have to go and use the pinch brush. Really get these in there. A little better. I do want to go go through and add some segments to this thing. I guess I'll do standard. Oh, and I should save this iteration. I'm on 9, I'll do 10. Just in case I break something. That's the kind of stuff you gotta worry about, though. When you are turning, if your brush is over the model, sometimes it'll start doing stuff to your model, which is how I think I ended up messing up those fingers. Okay. I think I will run another Dynamesh and see what kind of improvements I can make. Looks like that already happened. Yeah, it looks like Dynamesh already got triggered. Let me check the toes over here. Oh, that's so weird, so jarring. Yeah, it almost looks like Dynamesh happened already, probably when I ended up saving. Or with one of the messages that popped up that I didn't read. This thing I no longer need. That I can remove. If you're not familiar, Dynamesh just reorganizes the topology and makes sure everything is kind of like squared off. trying to think of how I want to handle the next steps with him. So I just did a redynamesh there. Now when you rerun it, of course you can change your resolution to make it more or less. It's going to go through and just line up all the geometry as like little squares as best it can. You know. There's also an option to use where is live mesh? Active sculpt. There we go. So I could do this, and basically what it does is it decimates the area to make it more receptive to whatever changes you're making. And then later you can remove that. So Dynamesh is kind of good for the speed sculpting, but then the active sculpt, if it's the tool that I remember, it's like Dynamesh on steroids. Let's save. I don't think a whole lot has changed, but I'll do 11 just in case, and then see if I can activate this. So what's kind of cool on this is as I'm messing with this, you can see how it decimates the mesh. So you can see some squares, but some of these are like triangles and and whatever not. So it's making the geometry do whatever is necessary to get the shape. So like if I grab this and suddenly pulled this out, let me do a quick, as I go, you can see it's estimating as I'm going. It's reconfiguring the topology. To do whatever is necessary to make that shape. It's a really cool feature. So if I want to add horns or something later. But this is awful topology. You couldn't use this for a game. You know, if it were a statue, it's fine. If it doesn't have to bend or do anything, then it's great. But for a production model, you probably wouldn't want to use this. You know, but just to play around with it, I want to have a little bit of a go playing with shapes. I wanted to do Dean has a beard, but in dragon form, the beard is more like scales. Let me see if I can do snake hook. H snake hook. So that would go. And this is really just me just playing around with an idea. But that would go like here. So I do like that. I may have to go and just make that permanent. What kind of horns do I want out of his crown here? Make a bigger brush. I feel like these should be more imposing. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Can I remove this? Probably won't let me remove it as easily, but I'll try. So let me see if I can inflate these. I don't know. I don't know if I like those. Sometimes less is more. Maybe more like that. I think I need a horn out this way. Go up the size here. It did damage some of this, but I think it's rebuildable. Let's see if I can come out of this mode here. And then what I will do is Dynamesh again. So instead of it being a decimated mesh, it should now be back to being Dynamesh. Which should give me some more precision. Yeah. These ones being kind of flat bother me. I want to introduce a bit of a twist to this. Another thing I wanted to try with him is adjusting those shoulders. So I'll get moved topological again. Crap. Just want to check for any abnormalities before I save. Check the hand. I think they're good. I think the head came out pretty good. Okay. And I can save this one as 12. So I got Dean a bit closer to where I wanted to be. Some of the things I need to do with him, I need to make the teeth, and I need to build the wings. And then come back through and do some of the final details. Any additional horns or anything like that. I need to build his armor as well. But I think this is good for now. I'm going to go ahead and take a break. And, yeah. I might jump over to Star Quest. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me. And I will catch you on the next one.